Hello, Picture This film review fans, and welcome to our Monday bonus episode where we're starting to get into the spirit of Halloween and we're coming at you with our top 5 scary picks. If this is your first time tuning in, you called us on a bonus episode. I'm Dan, my lovely wife,
Kayla,
and my cousin,
Matthew.
who kicked it all off for us for Picture This film review. Um, Honestly, I will be hosting this episode and the one you see later in the week. So I kind of want to kick things off for us here and go over. Did we agree to how we wanted to do the rotation today? Did we want to do how we did our last one where we each name our bottom 5 and work our way up?
I think I think we should start at 5 and work to 1, and I think we should go around the room rather than you saying all 5 at once. I think you should say 5, Kayla should say 5, so on and so forth.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So for the essence of time, short and sweet while we picked it, and we'll just dive right into it. So number 5 on my scariest movie list, I picked Doctor Sleep. Continuation of The Shining. One scene in particular really stood out to me and involves a young character actor who essentially has his soul ripped out of him. Very painful. And honestly, the rest of the movie, similar feel, but just for some reason, that particular scene has earned its rank on the list for me. Very hard to watch, very scary for me to watch as a parent.
Number 19. Kid, you were good.
No! No, please let me go. I won't tell, please. Please.
So I guess I'll kick it off to the next person.
Kayla, would you like to go?
You can go, man.
Okay. My number 5, and I really thought hard at this. I had a list, which I still have, and then throughout the week I started scratching things off and redoing the list. So my number 5 is The Strangers, and this was not my original number 5. This was one that I added later in the week, and why I went with The Strangers is because the idea, home invasion itself is a very scary thing. And then there, of course, is that scene. We all know the scene I'm talking about. That scene at the end when they got them there, finally face to face, and they say, "Why?" She says, "Why are you doing this to us?" Or "Why are you doing this?" And the response is, "Because you were home."
Because you were home.
And that is terrifying to me. So my number 5 is The Strangers as my scariest movie.
That is a good pick, and I never really considered that one. I remember watching it as a teenager, and I was like freaked out because it was so creepy with the mask and everything. Okay, so my number 5, and please, if anybody watches this, don't laugh at me. I took into account how movies made me feel when I watched them. And this is dating back to probably when I was like 11, 12 years old. So a young kid, whatever, preteen, whatever. Okay, so my number 5 is Urban Legends.
Okay.
Now, I went to a party, my cousin's party. She was turning like 13. And we were like 2 years younger than her, my cousin and I. And they wanted to do this thing, like light as a feather kind of thing, and wanted my cousin and I to do it. And we got so freaked out. And then they turned on this movie, and it was like 3:00 in the morning. We had to like literally lay there. I was so scared to go to the bathroom. I hate this movie. And the part with the cat, I hate this movie. So this comes at number 5, Urban Legend.
It's a solid pick.
That is a solid
I'm a baby, so please.
No, you did it. You did it right. I don't mean to cut you off, Dan, and waste time, but You did it right. I think and that's what this list was supposed to be. It's supposed to be how the movies made us feel, and not necessarily like, oh, this is America sees this as the scariest movie of all time. What scares you?
The next one I'm gonna go with, honestly, one of my favorite in the horror genres, newer to the scene of horror, but The Quiet Place. I'm gonna put on my list. John Krasinski did a great job again. Watched this as an adult with children, thinking about growing up in a world where literally the slightest noise sends creatures your way, decimating entire families. I know my son, in particular, would probably not make it in that environment, and just really kind of hits at home, and just the loss that happens towards the end of the movie, the potential loss that could have happened. I mean, loss of a child, again, sits really heavily on me and kind of as a theme toward this part of the list. But I'll kick it back over to Matt.
Is it my number 4 already? Oh, geez. Um, my number 4, I originally, and I want to preface this because they're very similar movies, but one is older and one is more recent. And I ended up actually going with the more recent one. Uh, my original pick was The Exorcist because I felt like that movie has been called over and over again the scariest movie of all time. But I wanted to really, I thought, again, this was one that I changed because I was like, how did it make me feel? When I watched it, it was kind of creepy, but The Exorcist, I watched it when I was a teenager, early teenager. So by that point, it was already an old movie. It just didn't do it for me. I mean, it did. It's a good movie, good horror movie. It's earned its right. It's earned its spot in the genre. But the movie that actually frightened me when I saw it in the theater, that is very similar, at least in kind of what's going on in the film, is The Conjuring.
Oh, yes.
The Conjuring was the first movie in a long time that I could say was scary. People ask me, people that know me, that know I like horror movies, ask me all the time. It's a question I get asked all the time. So hopefully after this episode, I won't get asked anymore. Although I'm sure those 22 people aren't one of the ones that asked me. So
Why don't we take a shout out too? I think from last week to this week, there's a total of 3 new subscribers. So if you are watching this,
this is
thanks for
really
joining. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
So thank you for hopping on board. Shout out to you.
thank you.
Sorry to
Thank you.
interrupt.
No, thank you. Thank you. I have an idea who maybe one of those are. It doesn't tell me. I manage the YouTube account, and it doesn't. Every once in a while it'll tell me, but it doesn't tell me who my subscribers are or when someone new subscribes. So I don't know that. So that's why we don't do that enough. But thank you for the new subscription. We hope you are entertained. But The Conjuring was the first movie in a long time that really made me go, oh, this is getting intense. Like, and it made me jump, and it made me have those scared feelings like I used to have when I was a kid watching other movies, which we'll get to here in a couple minutes.
Very good. All right, my number 4 is I can't remember if this came out in like 2001, but it is called Cabin Fever. I saw this movie in the movie theaters when I was like probably, I don't know, 10 or 11 years old. So this terrified me. And for the longest time, I would not drink tap water because of this. And it was just so gross and yucky. And I think that's really where my fear of like yucky, gory, gruesome things really developed from. And it's just yucky. And I still can't, like, to this day, I think of that movie and it just gives me like horrible flashbacks.
That razor blade scene. Ugh.
I can't. Ugh, I can't.
So with the gore, kind of in line with Kayla's thought process here, but different movie. This movie came out when I was a teenager, in 2004. This movie sat with me a little bit differently, kicked off a whole spin-off of sequels to follow. The one I'm talking about is actually Saw. For me, it's amazing to be locked in a room, or just the thought of being locked in a room with a complete stranger, not knowing how far they would be willing to go in order to get out, and how far you personally would be willing to go to get out. I mean, there's some twisted stuff in those, and if you go further into the series, like the traps get crazier and crazier, and at the end, the big reveal that the man, he was alive in the middle of the room the whole time. The fact that he was just chilling out in the middle while these people are mutilating themselves and dying, it definitely put a chill in my spine. A little bit different than what I have for the rest of my list, but definitely sticks as a solid number 3 for me. So,
what is that smell? Shh. Hang on a second. I think I found something.
Mr. Matt, kicking back to you.
Good pick. All these have been good picks. I'm impressed with you guys. Congratulations. My number 3, and I feel like my list is so basic. You guys actually like went out of the box, and I like that. And it doesn't get more basic than what I'm about to do with my number 3. My number 3 is Halloween, the original. And while you may watch that movie, especially in 2022, and say, there's nothing really scary about this. The idea, again, it goes back to the idea, kind of like The Strangers, home invasion, because you were home. Of course, later in the movies and in the sequels, we learn, oh, well, Michael Myers is Laurie Strode's brother, and that's why he's after. But in that original movie, before all that happened, the idea was he wasn't connected to anybody. He was just this person. He didn't have superpowers. He didn't have this ability to not die. He was just this person that would continue to chase these teenagers, these babysitters, and that's what made it scary. The fact that he could be anyone. In that first movie, anybody could have been Michael Myers. Anybody.
I'm gonna take a little walk.
With the boogeyman. I'm scared.
There's nothing to be scared of.
Are you sure? How?
I killed him.
You can't kill the boogeyman.
Get in there, come on, Tommy. Now lock the door.
Good. Okay. Does that make me? Okay. Okay. So my third film is the 2013 remake of Evil Dead. This movie is a good movie, but it is so gruesome. There's a scene in the bathroom, and I'm pretty sure, I don't want to go into it, but anyway, like when I think about this movie, I think about just creepiness, like everything about it. Like, it was so well acted, but it was so creepy. And I had walked into the theater not ever seeing or knowing anything about this, not ever watching the original, so I didn't know what to expect. But 15 minutes in, and there's some crazy stuff going on. Anyway, that's my third pick, is 2013's Evil Dead.
Olivia? What are you doing in there? Olivia? Olivia? Are you okay?
I went to the theater to watch this with Dan.
Oh my God, really?
And
Wow.
I think we went to the Cambridge Theater, if I remember correctly. And I also knew nothing about The Evil Dead, had not seen the original. And I remember, I think we both walked out of that movie like, what the did we just
Yeah,
watch?
same,
Like, it
same.
was so crazy and so brutal.
Yes.
Ugh.
Wow.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Good pick. Moving into the number 2 spot. It was a toss up for me here. One of them slightly edged out the other for the impact on me. Both kind of dealing with similar themes. So I just want to put a special shout out for Hereditary, which is not on my list, but came pretty darn close. Um, Again, the kind of thing like, wow, one of your children could potentially have been the spawn of Satan, born in the wrong body, and their whole goal, purpose in life is to die or pass on so they can inhabit your other child. Again, sticking to a theme I think was pretty strong for most of my list. But the one I actually went with, which actually did scare me a little bit, because when we start talking about demons, ghosts, and things of that nature, it kind of strikes a different chord with me. Matt, you have Halloween, serial killers, flesh and blood. However, you can say evil never dies. We know of the franchise Halloween. That's kind of the theme. But with this, like, kind of hard to strike out at demons tormenting your family. So similar, some of the same actors, but different. Well, same time frame too, as what you had talked about with The Conjuring. I picked Insidious.
Okay.
There's just something about that red-faced demon.
Yes.
And when he goes into the other realm and he comes face to face with him
Yeah.
on the other side, just very unsettling for me and stuck with me as, like, even when I think of horror movies, it's one of the first things that comes to my mind, especially when you say demon or ghost, like that red-faced demon there. So that would be number 2.
I have to say something. I didn't think of Insidious until Matt, you had brought up the Conjuring, and then I was thinking of the other works, and I was like, oh my God, Insidious. But yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, creepy.
It said Dalton. I can still hear that voice.
What?
My number 2 is kind of has some ghosts and not necessarily demons, but some ghost-like figures in it. It's a movie that it's another one that's older, that if you watched it today, you probably really wouldn't get scared. And in fact, someone I know, or maybe it was on another podcast, I don't remember. I just hear things and take them and make them my own. But someone said that they showed this movie to their 11-year-old child, and because off the recommendation that it was their dad's favorite or that person's favorite movie when they were young, and the 11-year-old said after it was over, "That was your favorite movie, Dad, or your scariest movie, Dad?" And the guy said yes, and the 11-year-old, it was a girl, the daughter says, "Geez, what a wimp." and the movie I'm talking about is The Shining. So the original to Dan's number 5, Dr. Sleep, is The Shining. Jack Nicholson, Shelley Duvall, and it's a movie that I watched when I was very young, younger than I should have been watching it, and that's why it scared me. Not because I watch it now and it scares me, but when I watched this movie when I was a kid, it gave me all sorts of the creeps. Of course, you can talk about just Jack Nicholson in general being a psycho, running around with an axe. But and then of course the iconic bathroom scene with the old lady. But the blood and the elevators and the little twin girls, "Come and play with us, Danny."
okay with this, Daddy?
It's terrifying when you're young,
Mhm.
or at least it used to be. Evidently not for some 11-year-olds, but back then it was terrifying. Now I watch it and admire it as a film piece of art, as I do a lot of movies. But that's a whole nother conversation. But The Shining, number 2.
Okay. So my number 2, I don't really know if it falls exactly. It has a whole bunch of different genres, but to me, it definitely falls into like the horror genre. So my number 2 pick is 2012's Prometheus. Um, I can't remember if I walked out of the theater in this movie or not, but and somebody I'm sure will probably mark my words or whatever. I don't care for the whole Aliens trilogy, whatever it is, the whole thing. I don't care for that. I find it really disgusting. I can't get over it. Like there's this part in this movie where like, and I guess it happens in the other movie because I don't know, where the alien thing is inside her body and she's got to get this like C-section thing done. I can't with things ripping out of people's body. I don't have the heart or the stomach for it. Like I said, like I literally will either pass out or I'll bark or something. Like I can't stand it. This movie scarred me. Ugh.
Emergency procedures initiated. Please verbally state the nature of your injury.
I need cesarean.
Error. This med pod is calibrated for male patients only and does not offer the procedure you have requested. Please seek medical assistance elsewhere.
Surgery. Abdominal. Penetrating injuries.
I think it is definitely safe to say if you're not a fan of Prometheus, you definitely want to stay away from the rest of the Alien franchise because it does not get better. Well, awesome round 2 picks, guys. Really excited to continue to our number 1. So again, not my pick, but another shout out to kind of what inspired my pick. Blair Witch kind of set the tone for a lot of documentary style filming movies like Cloverfield, and also one that impacted me as a teenager because at the time it was released, I thought that it was real events that was just recorded and then played back, which you don't know until the end. And I never finished all the way to the end until later in my life, or somebody told me, yeah, this is BS and there's an alternate ending. Paranormal Activity was the one that scared the crap out of me. Just 2 folks living in a house. They're, going through their lives, and ultimately weird stuff starts happening in the house. They start making contact, and it starts contacting and eventually possesses the wife, and ultimately ends in the death of the husband and her walking off. Again, this inspired several sequels. My personal opinion on those I'm going to keep to myself because kind of depressing. But overall, scared the crap out of me. I just sleep with the light on for probably, I don't know, like a year after that. And I used to, every night before I went to bed, say the Lord's Prayer. I'm like, you're not coming in my house, man. Like, I was freaking out. So Paranormal Activity, though maybe cheesy to most of you, had the most impact on me, my life, and scary movies. So
What are you doing? Pick it up. What are you doing? Why is she here?
Something out there.
Actually the same, because my dad, when we watched it, told me that it was real. He knows how big of a sissy I am, so literally would sleep with the lights on. He's like, didn't you see the picture? How would they be able to take a picture and know all this stuff? And of course I'm like, what, like 13 or 14? I'm like, oh my god, how would they? So like literally, yes.
oh my god, the thing that gets me, I'm sorry to kind of take the time, they had a really good method. Is got to be low budget. It's probably, I think we looked at it was higher budget than we thought, but it was like the sound. It was like a resonant sound that would just go, and you'd sit there and something was coming. Sometimes it would break and nothing would happen, but sometimes it would just lead up to a freaking, like, it should be a jump scare, but a different term for it. It's just the anticipation for it just, man, just took you to a whole nother level. Like my heart had to be going to the watching that thing. So
That's a good number one. I was wondering if we were going to cross paths at any point. My number one is also Paranormal Activity.
whoa.
I really thought about this, and I thought Paranormal Activity is probably the scariest movie for me of all time. And why that is because I don't even know why that is, because it's ghosts, because it's demons, it's that possession. Kind of goes back to The Conjuring, like I was talking about. It was I do know what it is. I do know why. Okay, I lied. I know why it was so scary, because it was filmed with a handheld camera, because it was filmed first person, because it felt like a real thing. Now, unlike my co-host, I never thought it was real. I knew it was a fake movie, but it still scared me all the same. The sequels, most of them I don't like. They don't really need to exist, but that first movie is a classic, and it very quickly earned its staple in the horror genre. I don't think it's cheesy. Like, people, even kids now, I think, still say Paranormal Activity. Oh, let's watch Paranormal Activity, because it is a scary movie, because you can't control ghosts. It's not the boogeyman. It's not a monster under your bed. It's this thing that you can't see, you can't feel. You could just be laying in bed and the door open, or something fall off the wall, or the fan turn on or off, and you never know. Or you hear a noise. It's those creepy little things that mess with your mind, and that's why this movie is so effective. Paranormal Activity is it for me.
That's actually a really good one. I can't believe you guys had the same one. That's kind of crazy. And that honestly I would never guess. I wouldn't have. But yeah, I think we can all agree that it was freaking creepy. So this movie got mentioned. This is my number one pick. It is Hereditary. And if you know me and you've ever heard me talk about this movie, this is one movie that I would never, ever, ever touch again with even a 10-foot pole. I dislike this movie so much that it's so scary. It's so freaky. Like Dan said before, I don't like the possession stuff. There's something so creepy about it. And I think that's what it is. They all acted their butts off in that movie, and it's so real and convincing. I never want to see it again. I get the heebie-jeebies just thinking about it. Like, I dislike that movie. What they were going for, they achieved it. Never again for me.
There's someone said Hereditary isn't scary, isn't horror. That shouldn't classify as horror. And the response was the moment in that film, and there's nothing happening on screen. In fact, the only thing we see on screen is the boy, the son. He's laying in bed. This is after the car accident. Spoilers if you haven't seen the movie. This is after the car accident. It's the next morning. He's laying in bed. He hears his mother and father downstairs. His mother's leaving to go to work or somewhere. And we just see his face. We hear her leave the house. And then a moment later, we just hear the mother scream bloody murder, because she has found the decapitated head of her daughter in the backseat of her car. Or no, I'm sorry, the decapitated body. The head is out on the road. Sorry. Not to be even more violent, but she's found her decapitated daughter in the backseat of her car. And that scream, you don't see the body, you don't see her find it, you only hear her scream. But that scream is a very realistic, raw, horrifying scream. And if for that scene alone, Hereditary is a horror movie through and through.
Toni Collette in that movie is what makes it so scary. There's a moment where she comes downstairs into the living room where, like, I think the son and the father are down there or something like that. And I can't remember if it's like the part where she starts walking on the or crawling on the walls. I'm pretty sure in the ceiling. And I was like, no. I think we watched this at nighttime. I was like, no. Oh my God.
Here's the thing. She's been in Hereditary. I know you guys are probably about to blast me. She was in the show United States of Terror. I think she got acclaim for both of those where she had split personalities. But I honestly like to see her in some more films.
She was the mom in The Sixth Sense, which a lot of people forget about. I see dead people. That it was she was his mom. She was Haley Joel Osment's mom. That was one of her earlier roles, and she exceeds very well in horror. I would like to see her do more.
That she was in. Oh, I'm probably thinking of The Stairs. Never mind.
So maybe we'll do an anthology of Miss Collette
Toni
for
Collette,
one of our next.
Anyway, that was really good picks from everybody. Holy crap!
Solid choices.
Alrighty, folks. Thank you for sharing your top 5 scariest movie picks. Did our picks send shivers down your spine, or is there something else that you are left to pine for in our viewing? Let us know your top 5. Let us know your top 1. Did our picks scare you? Are you just scared the fact that we picked movies that aren't scary at all? Let us know. We are definitely interested in knowing here at Picture This Film Reviews. Again, our audience matters. We don't get a lot of feedback. We'd love to get some more. Please leave a comment. If you haven't already, please subscribe. We release 2 videos every week now because we're on the ball like that, and we like to talk about movies. None of us are professionals. However, we love to talk about movies. Matt's trying to be professional. He has filmed some stuff before with the video camera. Some of it's actually good quality as I would say Paranormal Activity, if you catch my drift. But anyways, guys, you can follow us at Picture This Film Reviews on YouTube, Facebook, and also the Instagram. Who knows where we might end up next? Stay tuned. Again, thank you for joining us today on this very special Spooky Monday. And again, as we typically wrap up our episodes, we'll be kicking it over to Mr. Matt. Mr. Matt, what do we have to say to our wonderful viewing audience?
Everybody have a great week. Tune in on Thursday. And of course, love one another.
Bye.
See you guys.